Alright, we're on Unit 9 with our review, and this is Day 3, sine, cosine, and tangent that I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to present this as a normal lesson, and then you're just going to have a short assignment after. What's going to happen here is we are going to find the sine, cosine, tangent of angle L and the sine, cosine, tangent of angle M, and we're going to represent those as fractions because these are ratios. So before I get started there, I am going to remind you that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And then we'll get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resketch this triangle with point L as the angle I'm considering when I'm doing sine, cosine, tangent of L. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in the values accordingly. So L across from it is 4, M is 5, and N is root 41. And this is my acute angle that I'm referencing here. I am going to label the three sides. Remember that across from the right angle is your hypotenuse, across from your acute angle is your opposite leg, and the leg that's next to the acute angle is your adjacent leg. Now I'm going to make all three ratios for L. So the sine of angle L is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So now I can reference that opposite is 4. The hypotenuse is root 41. And that's a good answer. The cosine of L is going to be adjacent leg over hypotenuse. So adjacent is 5. Hypotenuse is root 41, so 5 over the root of 41. And the tangent of L is equal to opposite over adjacent. So 4 is opposite over 5 is my adjacent leg. And that wraps up point L. Now I'm going to do this process again, but for point M. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the triangle again. And I'm actually going to be filling in the values, 5, 4, this is my right angle up here, root of 41, and I'm going to be labeling this acute angle M. So now I'm going to be working off of that angle for the triangle. Basically what that does is switch which leg is opposite and adjacent. Now the root of 41 is still my hypotenuse across from the 90 degrees, but now opposite of the acute angle is 5, and the adjacent leg to the acute angle is 4. That's going to change every single one of my ratios. So let's write them down now. The sine of M is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So that will be 5 over the root of 41. You're going to see that that lines up with what cosine of L was. Now let's do the cosine of M. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that is now going to be 4 over root 41. You're going to see that that was the same as the sine of L. Those will always crisscross there. Alright, the last one is the tangent of M, and we're going to be done with this problem. And the tangent of M will be opposite over adjacent, so 5 is opposite, 4 is adjacent, 5 over 4. You're going to see that that's the reciprocal of what tangent of L was. So these are your 6 ratios that the problem asked for. If ever you can reduce your fraction, go ahead and reduce it, but I didn't have any of these that could be reduced. Alright, you're going to want to pause the video right here so you can write down this problem. We're going to be finding y to the nearest tenth, and you're also going to want to go grab a TI-84 calculator, please. Now that you've hopefully done that, turn on your calculator and make sure that you are in the correct mode. So we are all going to hit the mode key that's up here at the top, and we are going to see that if it's not on degree, it needs to be placed on degree. So we're going to arrow down and over to the right and hit enter so that now degree is highlighted, and now I can use my sine, cosine, tangent keys and know that I'm actually going to be getting everything right. You can hit the clear button to get out of there back to the home screen. Alright, I'll bring this calculator back in just a minute. You don't need to worry about checking it again unless you reset the calculator. Now I'm going to use sine, cosine, tangent to solve for y. What I'm going to do is go ahead and label each of the sides, starting with my hypotenuse, which is opposite of the 90 degrees. Y is opposite of the acute angle. And this leg over here that has nothing on it is adjacent to the acute angle. So we're going to do sine, cosine, tangent here. And we're going to figure out which of the three functions we need to use. Now, since there's nothing on the adjacent leg, no value and no variable, I'm not going to be using adjacent. That means it's not going to be cosine, nor is it going to be tangent, because both those need adjacent. Sine is what I'm going to use. So the sine of my angle, and that's always the acute angle, equals opposite over hypotenuse. So it needs to be y over 15. Now I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. And what's going to happen there is I would now have 15 times the sine of 57 equals y. This is where your calculator comes back in at. So you're going to grab your calculator and you're just going to type it in as you see it. 15 times, don't forget where your sine key is, of 57. 12.6 is what it is as my final answer. I do require you to be using the TI-84 today because you are going to be using that on your final exam for me, because this stuff will be on the non-Desmos portion of the test. Alright, we've got two more examples to get through. Alright, let's go ahead and take a moment to sketch this out. And what you're going to do here is people get confused whenever both acute angles are provided to you. Before I start labeling the triangle, what I want to do is probably just get rid of one of the acute angles. It's actually kind of extra information. I'm going to be getting rid of the 62 degrees that was provided and just work off of the 28 degrees. Now I'll label the three sides and figure out which function I'm going to use. This is my hypotenuse away from the right angle. Now that I'm using the 28 degrees, that would indicate that the 42 is opposite and that the x is the adjacent leg to the 28 degrees. It's the one that's closer. Now I'm going to write out my little SOH, CAH, TOA. Alright, now in this problem, opposite has 42, A has x, H has nothing, so it's not going to be H. If it's not going to use H, it's not going to be sine, nor is it going to be cosine. It's going to be tangent that I'm using, because opposite over adjacent. So the tangent will be of 28 degrees, and it will equal 42, which is opposite, over x, which is adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Now I'm going to solve for x. Now in this problem I can't multiply by the 42. What I have to do is multiply by x first on both sides. So it's going to make it x times the tangent of 28 equals 42 is now left on the right side. I have one last step, and that's to divide by the tangent of 28 on both sides. That will leave just x on the left side. Now I'm ready to use my calculator again to see what that value would be. So here comes that. I'm going to type in the 42 and hit the division key. There's my tangent button. So tangent of 28. And I get 78.99. If I'm rounding this to the nearest tenth, it would actually be 79.0, because that 9 would round this up to the next whole number. This would also technically be centimeters. I forgot to mention that since they did give me a unit. It would be wise to use the unit in your answer. All right, we got one left. All right, let's take another moment, write down our last example, which is example 4. Same as the previous problems. The difference is this one you are solving for the angle, so there will be a difference when we start getting our work done over here, but the setup is the same. You go ahead and label your sides. 25 is my hypotenuse across from the 90. From the angle, this leg is my opposite of it. This leg is my adjacent. So now I'm going to write out my phrase again. SOH, CAH, TOA. All right, now in this problem, adjacent has 16 meters, hypotenuse has 25 meters. Opposite is not involved on the problem, so it's not going to be sine, that needs an opposite, nor is it going to be tangent, that needs an opposite. It's going to be cosine since it's adjacent and hypotenuse. So the cosine will be of the angle, which in this case is my unknown, which is x. And it will equal adjacent divided by hypotenuse, so the adjacent is 16, divided by my hypotenuse, which is 25. There we go. Now what I need to do is I actually need to go ahead and solve for x. Now, since x is in the cosine function, I'm going to invert that function. So if you'll remember, this is where we had to get x by itself by doing cosine inverse on the other side. That's with the -1 exponent of 16 over 25. And now I'm ready to use my calculator all of a sudden. So there is guaranteed very little work here. All right, when I'm typing in cosine inverse, remember, you're going to hit second before you hit this cosine key. That way it types it in correctly. So I'm going to hit second cosine inverse of 16 divided by 25, and I'm going to hit enter to get 50.2 degrees. All right, that's a wrap for what I was going to do on this review. Please complete the worksheet that you're about to get handed. Thank you all very much.